Hello, welcome back to Learn Economia. Today we are going to discuss a very important concept as far as microeconomics is concerned. So the concept is income consumption curve or simply the ICC. Let's come to the discussion on this. So what is an ICC or you call it as income consumption curve? When it comes to income consumption curve, we will be just looking at the equilibrium points and we will be taking all the equilibrium points. So simply we are going on to take the locus of equilibrium points at various levels of the income of the consumer. Why you are taking this? Because you have to understand that the income of the consumer plays a very important role as far as the consumption is concerned. Or you could see that consumption of a consumer is actually a function of income. Whenever there is any change in the income, that would be having some implication on the consumption of the consumer. Again, you need to consider something regarding the type of good that I'll be discussing later, because in reality we will be having different types of good. Different types of goods. Some good would be inferior, some good would be identified as a luxury, things like that. And there are also usually normal goods. So coming to the income consumption curve, it would give you or it would trace out the income effect on quantity consumed of the good. And what does it mean by income effect? The income effect shows the effect of income on quantity consumed. And since we do have several types of goods like inferior goods, or you call it as some kind of goods for which there can be a reduction in the consumption when there is an increase in income, and also we do have luxury goods, things like that. So since we do have different types of good and the effect of income on the quantity consumed would be having a variation as a result of differences in different kinds of good, you can have two types of income effect, basically positive income effect and negative income effect. And why are we considering income effect here? Because the income consumption curve will be based on the income effect. Okay, so taking you to more discussion and details on this subject. So which all are the goods that will be having a positive income effect? So positive income effect means whenever your income increases, that will give rise to increase in consumption of this particular commodity. And these comes with respect to usually normal goods. For normal goods, when income increases, the consumption also would be increasing. So you can have an ICC or income consumption curve moving like upward. You will be having it moving upward. So this would be a typical ICC as far as a normal good is concerned. You can consider that way of explanation. So making you to consider more about these goods. Now, but when it comes to certain other commodities, especially those goods with income effect negative, and which all are those commodities with income effect negative? Before that, I would like to make you understand what does it mean by negative income effect. Negative income effect means when income increases, the consumption will be coming down, the quantity consumed would be coming down. Why this happens is because the consumer considers this particular commodity as an inferior good. So with increased income, the consumer no longer would be consuming this inferior good. The person would be switching over to some superior goods, like you call it as substitutes. Instead of consuming the good that we had in question earlier, the person, since he is having a more income right now, he would be moving on to a superior good by reducing the consumption of inferior goods. So what happens? As a result of rising income, the consumption of inferior good would be coming down, and that is why you're calling such goods as inferior good, because the consumer himself or herself would be identifying such goods as having some inferior quality. That is why he or she is moving on to the reduced consumption of such goods and increased consumption of some other substitutes superior goods. Now, and here we have to consider the indifference map of the consumer. You know, indifference map, it's all about a set of indifference curve. You will be having several indifference curve when you measure two goods x and y along the x and y axes respectively. So for inferior goods, the indifference map would be moving in such a manner that the given income consumption curve, that income consumption curve is something that we derive from the indifference map of the consumer. As a result of inferior good, the income consumption curve will be moving to the left, or you could see that it will be moving in a direction that will be moving downward. So it will be moving downward like this or something. So I'll show you the figure exactly how it looks like. I'm not drawing it in a bad manner. It might be creating some confusion in your mind. I'll be giving you the exact figure to show you how it actually looks like. Now, you could see that all of a sudden the income effect will not become negative. You just have to look at your income. Your income increases slightly initially, then as a result of your promotion or something, to a great extent your income would be increasing, then again your income would be increasing. After one more promotion, again your income would increase so much. So initially it was a slight increase, but slowly and gradually your income has increased much more. So your income effect would become negative only after a particular point. Don't ever think that in the very beginning itself the income effect will be having its implication here as far as the inferior good is concerned. So it shows that at a particular level of income, you will make a change in your decision with respect to the consumption of inferior good, or as a result of a higher income, after a certain point you began to think or you began to identify certain commodities as inferior. So what will happen after that? After this particular point, you just go for a superior good, but till that particular point you were consuming that particular good which you have identified now as an inferior good as just normal good. Only after a certain point of your increase in income you identify such normal good as inferior good. So till a point consumption behaves just like normal good, but after this point of increase in income you began to identify your commodity as an inferior good. Let me show you in diagram. So this is what I have promised you. So in this case you could see that you will be having P1 L1 price lines. So this is in shows your budget lines, and you will be having your indifference curve 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 showing your indifference map, and the point of intersection between IC and your budget line you can have your tangency point, and you will be having the equilibrium at these points. So you're just joining these equilibrium points. These equilibrium points you're joining, and you're getting what is called ICC, or your income consumption curve. And in this particular figure, what you could identify is that this ICC is having a backward slope. So it is sloping back, it slopes backward. Or you could see is that it is an inclination towards the y-axis. It's moving towards y-axis. So that means your X, commodity X here, is an inferior good. Why? Because you are reducing the consumption of commodity X. And your income effect with respect to good X is negative. And for the very same reason, what you could have is that the consumption of X is coming down when there is an increase in income. Income increase means the consumption of X is coming down. This is what you can see in this particular diagram. Now taking you to the next case. In this particular figure, again you will be having your price line represented by P1L1, P2L2. These shows your corresponding better lines for your IC1, IC2, IC3, IC4, IC5, the indifference map. So for every indifference curve, you will be having some point of intersection, points, tangency points with the corresponding better line. So you will be having equilibrium points there, and you are required to join such equilibrium points to have your income consumption curve. So what is the difference here when you compare the previous income consumption curve and this income consumption curve? The difference is that in this particular case, your ICC is moving towards your x-axis. It is having an inclination towards your x-axis, isn't it? So that means you are reducing the consumption of good Y. Good Y is being reduced as a result of your income increase. Income is increasing, but you are reducing your consumption of good Y, and you are substituting Y with more X, because Y here has become an inferior good. So beyond this point Q2, you are moving, you can identify that the income effect is negative for good Y. Okay, so if you look back here, you could see that again in this case, beyond this particular point Q2, if you look at the curve, you could see that till this point it was just increasing. The curve was just increasing, but after it was having a bend towards the y-axis. Again, in this case, till this point there was no problem, but then afterwards it is having a particular inclination towards the x-axis. So that is why I told you it will not happen all of a sudden. It will happen gradually after some levels of your income. To show you the various ways of constructing the ICC, you can have the diagram where you will be measuring two goods over the two axes, like good X and good Y. X-axis shows good X and Y-axis shows good Y. So if you have a particular line that like this, a positively sloped line, a straight line. So this is the case of a normal good. A normal good. Then you can have your ICC moving like this, or else you can have an ICC moving like this also. So what would be the meaning of these two ICC? So we can call ICC 1, ICC income consumption curve, ICC 1, ICC 2, here it could be ICC 3. Okay. So regarding ICC 1, you can see that here your X commodity, it is an inferior good. That is why you are reducing inferior good. X is inferior. And here X is actually normal good in the case of ICC 2, and in the case of ICC 3, you have Y as an inferior good. So this is how you have to show. In the case of ICC 1, X is inferior, here X is normal, and here Y is inferior. When X is inferior, what happens? You are consuming more of good Y. When Y is inferior, you are consuming more of good X. So you can either draw the curve like this, rather than drawing it like this. You can draw it like this, like to show the inclination towards the x-axis. Okay, so this would be your ICC 3. Again, it is having a close inclination towards x-axis. That shows it is having some closer inclination towards x-axis due to the inferior quality of good Y as a result of your rise in income. So that is all regarding the ICC or income consumption curve. You hope you could understand it. Thank you for watching. I request you to like and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Also, you can join our free Telegram community. I'll be providing the link of the very same in the description box. Also, I'll be providing the link of Oikonomia app in the description box. You can download it from there. That's it. Thank you.